Hi everyone, it's Alia or Cake Legend and welcome to another cake pop tutorial. Today we're going to be making these adorable little ice cream cone cake pops. I used to make these every single week at one of the bakeries I worked at, so I'm practically a pro. Though it has been many years since I've made them. I would say the last time I made them was 2020, maybe 2019. To start, we're going to make our cake pop dough. If you don't know how to do this, it's really easy. You just crumble up some cake. I'm using a bunch of scraps that I had left over from another project, and then you're gonna add something like buttercream or ganache to give it moisture. I'm using leftover buttercream as well, which is why it's that gray color, but we're mixing it into chocolate cake, so it really doesn't matter. You're not gonna see it. Mix it all together until it can be molded into a shape. Make sure it's not too soft or too crumbly. And then we're just gonna roll it into balls. I use an ice cream scoop to portion them out so they're all the same size, and ignore those other cake pop things that are in the background. Those were for some other videos. If you haven't watched them yet, be sure to check out my Disney Princess cake pop tutorial and my Super Mario cake pop tutorial. Once we have our cake pop balls all rolled out, we're gonna put them in the freezer to chill overnight. To turn these into the little ice creams, we're obviously gonna need some candy melts for dipping and little mini cones. These little tiny ice cream cones are the perfect size. You're gonna need one long cake pop stick, and we're gonna start by laying out all our ice cream cones and then poking a hole into the bottom of each one. Then we're gonna melt down our candy melts and mix in some oil to get it to the right runny consistency, and dump some sprinkles into a bowl. This part is obviously optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but if you want your cones to have a little extra flair, you can start by dipping them into the candy melt, just the rim, and then rolling it in the sprinkles. When I used to make these at this one bakery, we never really did this, but sometimes we would do fun cake pops that were just a little different from your regular ice cream cone. But I always thought that this looked like it would be so fun, so definitely wanted to try it for this video. Once I was done making all my cones look extra fabulous, I melted down some more pink candy melts with white to get this lighter shade of pink, and then I grabbed my cake balls and put one onto that long cake pop stick. Then I fed it through the cone so that I could grip the stick while dipping it into the candy melt. Really make sure your cake ball is stuck onto that cone before you do this. Otherwise, it will fall into your candy melt and then you're gonna be sad. When I dip this into the candy melt, I just make sure the candy melt comes up to the edge of the cone. I don't wanna dip it in too far so it touches all the sprinkles and kind of covers them up. But I also don't wanna dip it all the way in so that you can still see some of the cake. Though that did happen for one or two of these cake pops, like this one. I shook off the excess chocolate and then pulled out the stick so we had a little ice cream cone. Then I used that same stick and just repeated the process with all my cake balls. If you ever have the problem of your cake balls cracking, it could be because they're too cold. So what I did was put them in the freezer overnight, like I said, but then when I started melting down my candy melts and dipping my cones, I had transferred them to the fridge, so they were still cold, but not as cold as they would have been if I dipped them straight from the freezer. Here are my cones all dipped. Next, I grabbed a variety of pink and white sprinkles and got those all set. I melted down some white candy melt, made sure it was nice and runny, the kind of consistency you would use for a cake drip. Then I put it into a piping bag so we could do little drips on these ice cream cones. To do this, I'm sorry my hand is blocking it, but I just squeezed out a little puddle on top of the cake pop. Looks kind of weird like this, but then you just give it a few taps on the table and look at how it smooths out so nicely. After this, I added my sprinkles right away before it dried and then set it aside and moved on to the next. I made some more ice cream cones using other colors and without the extra sprinkles on the cone, so you could see what that looks like as well. Same process, except a few less steps. Here you can see my little puddle on top of the cone, and I added those few extra squeezes to the sides so that I could control where the drops go. And just look at how cute these are. I love them so much. There we have our ice cream cone cake pops. When I first learned how to make these, I was surprised at how easy they were. So I hope you guys try this out and are surprised as well at how easy they are to make. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below telling me what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!